Hi, Elenai. Thanks for sharing your conception of writing with me here in paper one. I really enjoyed reading some of the responses from your interviewees, especially from your dad who's doing his PhD. I would love to pick his brain about his writing process and what writing has meant for him throughout his PhD studies. That would be awesome. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of feedback sort of going forward, some things to keep in mind. I'll organize it in terms of content and then form. When it comes to content, what I really liked about your paper is that your body was really clearly organized, right? So it was very clear what the conception of writing is, or the criteria rather that you were thinking about, and then eventually citing your interviewees and then applying it to how it sort of influences going forward how you're defining your conception of writing in terms of thinking about good writing is subjective. Sorry. So I found that to be really clear, really straightforward, and overall the paper sort of focuses and hits the mark when it comes to the task. So well done on that. Just a few things to keep in mind if you were to go back and revisit this paper for revision. Aside from, sort of clarifying the criteria in the body of the paper, what I was looking for is the mentioning of those criteria that you talk about in the body, clearly sort of and concisely mentioned in the introduction. So here at the end of your first paragraph where you talk about your conception of writing, I was hoping that I would read some of those criteria like clarity, for example, that you mentioned. Also thinking about what is another um, sort of criteria that you mention here. Um, that it's subject to change, as you mentioned, with Andrew. And so if you could mention some of those criteria concisely in your thesis or in your main idea, that would give the reader a sense of what to look forward to and what they're going to be reading about later on in the body paragraphs that you go through and sort of explain in a little bit more detail. So that would be a little bit more clarifying for the reader. Okay. In terms of format, just a few things to keep in mind. Your MLA formatting was pretty much on point. Just a few things here and there. For example, the font for your pagination, I think is the default font. It doesn't match the Times New Roman of the body. So you just want to go back and double check that. Also, if you look in the paper prompt, you'll see that first and third person are the appropriate points of view to use for this assignment. And so second person references, I know they slip in because it's just a matter of habit, when we talk, but you want to make sure that you proofread those things out. Okay. And another thing that I wanted to mention, oh yeah, parenthetical citation. When you go back and take a look at parenthetical citation for interviewees, I think you'll notice all you need is the last name. Okay, not necessarily the first and last name in the parenthetical citation. So again, that's like super minor, not that big of a deal. For the most part, it was a pleasure reading your paper one. Thanks, Elenai.